Right, we are at 9 o'clock and we're all live and ready to go, and we'll call the meeting to order. Becky, would you call the roll?
I sure will. Here. Jim Sheehan,
Here.
Reed Acree,
Here.
Tom Kitson, Mike Book.
Here.
Jason Anderson. Tom Wilson. Ally Hess.
Don't have anybody up on Zoom as yet, but I know that the folks are going to be attending on Zoom. Okay. Guys, you got anything for us before we get rolling?
No, sir.
All right, sounds good. And I know Paul's here for one reason only. We got anything other than that, Paul? Well, I thought you were still a county board member.
I am a college trustee.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So you guys are deep in it too at the moment?
We just did a ribbon cutting.
Wow, good for you guys.
Sports building?
What?
Is it a sports building?
No, it's a collision repair, automotive, early childhood care, adult services, a couple other things.
Where's that?
Actually,
52 million?
We had to build it because we had to relocate utilities in the middle of money after sitting through it.
Wow. All right, well, good for you guys. Glad that's important stuff. Reed, you got anything for us before we get rolling?
No, sir.
All right, Jeremy? All right. Good morning, Ally. How are you this morning?
Good. Good morning.
Glad you were with us. All right. We got the visitors taken care of. We got the approval of minutes, previous meeting. I looked them over and everything looked good to me, but I wasn't there. So any additions, corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to approve. Moved by Anderson, second by Acree. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, motion carried. All right. So we don't have any old business and we continue new business, department head presentations. Jesse is with us this morning. Good morning, Jesse. How are you this fine day?
How's everybody today?
Yeah, doing great. The sun is shining. I mean, Bert and I get back from vacation and we spent almost 10 days of clouds. So it's nice to have but they're talking about rain again this afternoon. So
Correct.
anyway, but what's going on in the world of the coroner's office?
Not much.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah. So it's pretty quiet lately, so.
Kind of dead.
Really, Mr. Book, are we going to start with those jokes this early in the morning?
The earliest dad
Oh
joke.
my gosh.
The earliest dad joke.
Bum. Yeah.
It's been pretty quiet lately, so, which is a good thing. So it's
Yeah.
always usually quiet in summertime. So,
Yeah, that's great.
So more dead than usual.
correct.
Oh,
Meet the-
man. I gotta get back control of this meeting. I lost it already. See, Reed, see, it was a good thing that I was on vacation. Yeah, right. Oh, man. Okay. All right. I see how this is going. All right, Jess, what do you got for us this morning?
The only mistake, if you look at the budget, I got a little trigger happy on my computer keyboard. Where I put in my salary, it says requested 45,000. That's gonna stay at 42.5 for the next 2 years. So,
Right.
sorry. We'll change that in 28, hopefully.
Yeah,
But
right.
other than that, I mean, I pretty much kept everything the same. I can't really control how many autopsies and toxicology reports we're gonna have to do throughout the year, but that always fluctuates. So,
See, how many people work in your department?
I have Lori, Lori Miller, who works for the sheriff and myself. And then I've got 1, 2, 3 deputies.
3 deputies. And you've had that many for,
I've had that many, yeah, for quite a while. Yeah.
how long have you been the coroner?
since 2008.
Oh, it's hard to believe.
It'd be 20 years.
And that's something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Time flies.
It does.
Yeah. Numbers, the last couple of years has basically stayed,
It's pretty much steady. Yeah,
Steady?
For the last, I would say,
goes,
the last 5 years.
mortality tables is mortality table.
Right. So
Yeah.
nothing's really changed.
Okay.
I mean, they'd fluctuate, but not very much. So
Right. Okay.
they average out pretty much the same every year.
All right. Well,
Issue is we need more people to move into Lee County.
right. Well, we'll make the adjustment on, we'll fix the thing and, you understand,
Yeah. No.
Why that is.
No, that was my mistake. So.
yeah, well, that, understandable. Any other questions for Jesse? Really, not a lot of changes?
No.
Okay. Ally, do you have any questions? Okay. All right. Well, that was pretty painless.
You go back to work.
Yeah. We joked more than we actually took us to go through the numbers. So,
Thanks for coming
yeah,
on.
thanks for Jess. Yep. You too. You are next, Paul.
Paul Gorski, IT Director. I'll be here 6 years in February. Jonathan will be here 6 years after that, and Travis Snell will be here.
Yeah, Paul, we need we need.
There you
green-
go.
There we go. We
All
got
right.
green light.
So, the audience may not have heard it, but you heard it. So, through my budget, the two big changes, some changes early on in the listings are just to make sure my two guys, Jonathan Henderson and Travis Snell, are taken care of. Number of OT hours are going up because of the meetings that they cover after hours, and then evening work and occasional server work and support work for other projects on the weekend. So we have an increase both for their full-time wages for those two and salary overtime. Then commensurate changes for healthcare, IMRF, and FICA. Professional services are going up. Costs for the infrastructure of the services increasing, and then the support costs for phone system and the like are increasing. Software licensing is going to see a large increase due to a number of, the licensing costs for the Microsoft 365 government licensing is 35% more, and we're adding a few more seats for that. Plus, we're also adding, we have a renewal in there for our KnowBe4 training, which is kind of required. Everybody's required to have cybersecurity training. So we have an increase there. But just the professional services, software licensing, and the telephone budgets, which all kind of go up. Generally, there's just a little bit of padding in there for new initiatives, so that I usually work with Jeremy on that and finding some funding in there so they don't have to pull it out of some other source, or in that case, instead of the IT budget, go directly to departments that have either pass-through money or grant money available to them. But my services are all provided for somebody else generally, obviously in support of the departments throughout the county. Hoping that after this year, the telephone charges will drop after we discontinue a few services. But I see the software licensing and the professional services staying pretty steady. And if you're looking at estimated charges for 2026 and software licensing, that's because a big charge of for 360 Microsoft Office 365.gov licensing. I've been balancing on a month-to-month basis rather than paying it lump sum, but in the September, October timeframe, I'm going to have to come up with a big chunk of change to pay for that going into the.
Now, 365 hits your budget. And just a quick question, Reed, when for like the accounting software licensing and all the other department licensing that we do, that hits those department budgets, not Paul's.
Office 365 hits my budget, but now
Right.
some of the other departments have licensing for other software, sorry.
Well, it's just like, what I'm thinking of is Amy's with the case management software, because those have got built-in increases, but that's not going to hit your budget. That'll hit Amy's budget.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, well, it'll hit actually more than Amy's too, right? Because we're moving to a platform that supports multiple offices where I think before, the state's attorneys used something that was probably connected to the public defender, but that was not then connected to the circuit clerk's stuff. But now I believe circuit
Well, yeah,
clerk,
that's gonna
they'll
be
all be
spread out
rolled
through
together.
them.
But yes, it'll be spread out between
Right.
those offices, and
Right.
they give us a breakdown of what each portion is. And so generally, if we can attribute a particular software to a particular department or group of departments, we will allocate those costs there. So like one of the big ones that is used here that, DevNet, multiple offices use DevNet between the treasurer's office, clerk and recorder's office, assessors and GIS. They all kind of retain a portion of those costs.
And when I first started, something like DevNet or Casell, I can't remember which one was actually part of the IT budget, but then I worked with the treasurer's office to do exactly what Reed's saying, push it off and allocate it to those. But in terms of Office 365, everybody uses it, even the
Right.
board members use it. So, and it's easier to manage under one platform. But the sheriff has licensing agreements for certain things, as Reed mentioned. The courthouse has mentioned, and then Old Courts here has at DevNet and Casell, but they're always smaller. If it's not everybody, I usually don't pick it up. Even in the software licensing, there's a small fee for Zoom for some of the offices, but then the courts have a special Zoom add-on, which I charge back to them. I send them the bill for that, so it comes out of their,
Sure.
their money.
So just as a comment, we used to divide the telephone charge. People may look at your budget and
We
say,
had
"Well, how
9
it-"
separate
they-
telephone
yeah.
bills. They all come to me, and I'm hoping to make some of those go away in this upcoming cycle. So we could see a decrease going into the next budget year. Plus, as Reed mentioned, we're migrating to a new cloud-based service for the court system. So not in this budget year, but the next budget year, I should be able to take down some of my infrastructure as a service cost because it's not on-prem. But those are going to be offset with on-site server requirements for the body cam stuff, which is just increasing, it's going crazy. I mean, hours of body cam that they're, it's in the cloud, but then the state's attorney's office and the public defender download it to servers here so they have access to it with all their supporting documents for the cases they're working on. I've already brought the subject up to Jeremy, and I will be having a little bit of a capital ask for additional servers, but long-term, we need to work with those departments to figure out, how we're gonna fund that. I don't think necessarily, I think we'll have to go to a model like Reed was describing for that type of server, not this budget cycle, but let's think it out, plan it for the next budget year going forward.
Right.
If you approve whatever capital I ask for, which will be less than $100,000, and then this budget, some of the hard discussions will have to come starting this fall and in the spring for the next fiscal year for those types of servers. Seeing some cost savings here, but other ones skyrocketing. And part of the cost is not only storing the first copy of the data, but making sure it's backed up so we can retrieve it. And when you have, I don't know if it makes any sense, but 90 terabytes worth of data, and I have to back that up. That
Storage cost.
gets costly. And I like having 2 copies of things.
Oh, right.
I just told you, I just cut the ribbon on a $52 million building. We don't have $52 million. And he knows I'm pretty frugal. So we need to come up with a system that's lower cost, that balances the cost across the departments that actually have either pass-through money, state money, or grants coming in. So it isn't just coming out of the general budget.
Typical story, people think it's wonderful, and it is a wonderful thing to have our officers cammed, but there's a huge cost associated, and it's ongoing.
Reed, you have a question?
It's just more of a comment. It just seems like some of these licensing agreements across the board, they're the only thing that's going up faster than health insurance, you know, as far as every year, it seems like the percentages.
You hit it, you hit it
25%.
right. If you follow some of my meetings in Rockford, that's exactly what we're talking about. Licensing costs for $1.1 million for stuff. I mean,
Right.
I sit there and go, what are we getting from this, you know? But
Is there any competition in that market?
no, unfortunately, I can go out for competitive quotes. Technically, on some of the IT stuff, I don't have to go out for bids, but I go out for quotes. And they're all coming in at the fairly same steeply discounted, but Microsoft already has projected schedule increases for their licensing at like 7%, 8%. And they're telling people, which is actually nice, they've got a schedule for it, but it doesn't help us any better when our income or our revenue doesn't go up at the same percent. And then, as you said, is a county, then you also have to deal with, you know, healthcare and other things too, in addition to licensing.
Well, I want to ask you a question about cybersecurity and training. What kind of training is done currently, and are you proposing to do more cybersecurity?
Yeah, well, we're going to step up the know before training. We're just renewing that agreement, and that was a line item that I was waiting for, and I finally got in. Thank you, Reed, into the budget. And in addition to that, it's not necessarily cybersecurity training, but it's also compliance training for website accessibility. I'm peeling back a service that helps us figure out who's using the site and then replacing that with a tool that's simply a bit more accessible to people without having a lot of staff have to worry about working on it. It does it automatically for the cost of about $19,000 per year, but that's like 3 times the cost of the actual website maintenance. But that way we don't have a bunch of people worried about all the content they're posting and the compatibility for it. This software fix it on the fly. And that's part of my software licensing increase. In terms of cybersecurity, in addition to the know before training, part of the software licensing cost increase includes when we move to Microsoft's 365.gov, we're either going to use their secure email tool or go to another one, which we're all using in a small part called Virtue here in the county for cybersecurity and protecting sensitive data like social security numbers, driver's license numbers, and the like, because you can't have that going through email just in plain text.
So my question, maybe this is a question maybe for Jeremy, but the accountability for employees to do the know before training, who enforces that to make sure that they're doing it? And if they don't, is there any sort of consequences?
Yeah, so from across the board, Paul's usually issuing the, updates or trainings or the heads up for cybersecurity issues that are coming across the board. Now, we don't really have a county-wide employee cybersecurity training program. No, could be something we could look into, but that's not something that we've really done.
The know before system allows the creation of certificates, which the people are supposed to retain as being compliant with the annual cybersecurity training. I also reach out to the department heads and elected officials to make sure their staff is actually going through, and I get updates on it and repeated requests to complete the training. And going forward, we're going to be a little bit more vigilant and then bump those up to the elected officials or department heads and say, you have these people that aren't technically compliant. I'm not their boss. You are, see what you can do about it. I can assist them in completing the training or maybe even adjusting it and then getting them access to their certificate. But I'm not going to be twisting everybody's arm about stuff. I can be a jerk about some stuff, but when it comes to their employee relationships, I don't want to step on their toes.
So outside of that, what I'm getting at is there's not a broader program. So Paul sends out those notifications for everybody to get completed.
Now, the only thing, I got involved, when I was working for the city of Rochelle, the Know Before program, and we were mandated to do it.
Right.
And if you didn't, there were consequences. Because the weakest link is that one employee who doesn't follow the security protocols. And that's the problem. And so I guess my experience has been, you got to have some sort of very defined enforcement of cybersecurity training. Otherwise, people are going to blow it off. And that's a natural thing for people to do because it takes time and, everybody's busy. I think that this is a huge issue and people have to be, they have to do the training.
Well, I'll assume that as a directive to work with Jeremy and then come up with some language for the employee handbook and policy that's consistent with current policy and or bargaining unit agreements, and then work with the department heads and elected officials. Okay.
And
All
the
right.
elected officials are usually the worst offenders.
Yeah, we're the worst.
You know what? I've been an elected official since 2001. And I got to tell you, I love working with the people here in Lee County. I mean, they have more problems with me than I have with them. It's because I can be a little opinionated sometimes, and I'm just here to help them out. And once they learn that, they're really easy to work with. I don't have a problem with them. So, and I love working with Jeremy and I love working with Eric. Those are the two people I work with the most usually. And I think we can hammer something out. And most of your elected officials are, I think, pretty good with their staff. So I think if we can bake a relatively straightforward policy and just let them know what the consequences are, I think you won't have a problem with them.
So Paul, help me understand. So we have all this huge amount of data that's going to the cloud. When that happens, we have the cybersecurity responsibility of the stuff that we're working with and within. Once that moves to the cloud, does our cybersecurity extend into that, or we depend on cybersecurity of the cloud, of the provider of the cloud where we're storing that for that security? How does that work?
Currently, we rely on the security with the vendor in particular, or it's unique to their solution. With Motorola, we have a layer of that we help also manage, or Mike McBride largely manages, but I help for single sign-on or multi-factor authentication. Moving forward with the court management system, they have some baked in multi-factor authentication, and so will Office. We're going to see how that all plays out before we go to possibly a unified solution, which again would be another software licensing cost. I got to take a look and see how Tyler, enacts theirs and make sure that they're, compliant. They work with government agencies all the time. I mean, so the one thing I want to do is I don't want to introduce barriers to people getting their work done. If the solution in place works, great. If it can be improved, we'll work on improving it. But we have a number of systems being rolled out now and going into next year. And at next year's budget cycle, you may get another ask for something unique or special for the single sign-on login. But right now, we're relying on the vendor in the cloud to supply that. And I don't see that as being too much of a problem because we're moving with people that are used to working with government agencies. Matter of fact, I just resolved the problem with one of the cloud-based solutions, download speeds, and they adjusted it. And I said, "You're not lessening security." They said, "No, we're not adjusting it at all. We just speeded up your download speed." So,
Allie, do you have any questions for Paul?
No.
Okay.
okay.
Dean? Keen? Okay.
Nothing?
Yep.
And this is just for my own curiosity, how, does the cloud, after a while, does the cloud purge any of the old information it has, or does it just keep hanging on to it forever?
That would be dependent on which cloud-based system you're
Which
talking about.
service you're talking about.
Right,
as
for
far as-
example, and it's not something that I manage, but the law enforcement here does, Flock. You probably have heard, you know, news articles on Flock and how some people think it's great and how some people are concerned about the security for it. That service has gone into a thing where they only restore things for X amount of days or months now because of people's concerns about security. But when it comes to something like Microsoft Office 365, the whole part of not only the security features they have, like multi-factor authentication, is detailed logs going way back. So you know when people access things, in case you have a data breach, that you can go back and see when somebody accessed certain data, from which country, how long it took them, how many hits they stuff. So if you start throwing away that data, if you do have a data breach, you can't go back and kind of figure out where it happened. Matter of fact, there's a not common, but there's part of a system that I'm looking at that fortunately the state will probably pay for, that actually combines a lot of these logs into one system in case there is a data breach. So we can go into them and get an overall picture. But again, short answer, depends on the vendor. And in terms of our vendors, most of our vendors, I would say, keep the logs for at least a year. So most of them would, which would be a comfortable, long enough time for data breach investigation. You know, knock on something wood. I don't want that. So, but in terms of, you know, in terms of cybersecurity, trying to do the best we can, knowing that some of the solutions are expensive, but that the ramifications of not following it can be even more expensive. So you don't want to, well, recovery can be painful. But that said, in terms of, I just touch base real quick. I know it's not the time, but my capital asks for this year go to data, servers and some PCs, and UPS battery backup stuff, not to exceed like $90,000. But I also would just plug, I ask for it every year and I've been told it's not your place to be asking for it, but I'll ask for it again. I believe there's been a generator or will be a generator asked for new courts, and I please encourage to support that. The current generator, when it kicks in, actually damages equipment. I've lost we had to replace approximately, what is it? $6,000 worth of equipment just this spring and summer already because of damage that the generator itself causes. When it kicks in, it puts power on neutral, sending a surge of power back into the circuit, which can damage the battery backups and protective devices, which fortunately it's not damaging the servers. It's, you know, damaging the things protecting them, but that's kind of getting old. So I think Eric England's putting in a pitch for a building generator, not the whole building, but a system. So did you have any other questions on my line items or the activities that lead up to this?
Just a question. You got a $17,000 increase in the website. You're rebuilding the website?
Well, yes, we're rebuilding the website, and then we have an increase in the software to dynamically fix problems with this website to make it accessible. That's a compliance issue. Originally, we were supposed to be compliant with certain federal guidelines by this spring, but we've been giving a reprieve based on the size of the county for a year plus. I'm hoping not to have to spend all of that, but yes, instead of putting it into a capital ask for the one-time redesign, we're gonna do the redesign plus the assist software, but I hope to see that cost come down and not actually use all of it in this year, and then come down in subsequent years.
So do we do our website internally or do we have an
It's hosted out externally, and I like it that way. You know, it's safer. They have a team that keeps an eye on it. We haven't had I'm not going to even say it. It's been running fine for the 5 years I've been.
Well, you don't fix it if it's not broken.
well, I was gonna say, we haven't had a breach. And you know, they were pretty good on staying on top of that, so.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyway, any other questions for Paul? Hearing none. Thanks for coming in, Paul. Appreciate
very
the
much. Appreciate
update
it.
and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
So let's have a calendar reminder for that, cybersecurity.
All right, next up in the hot seat, assessor's office. Come on down. You know, we laugh about the hot seat. It's not a hot seat, except I don't know what Paul might have increased the temperature a little bit, but
Okay.
you
Well,
know.
I'm gonna wing it, so we're gonna just,
All right. Well, have at it. What do you got for us this morning?
So we're gonna help Amy out. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Again, just a reminder, Amy's been in her role for, what, 3 weeks now?
yeah, like 3.5
Yeah.
weeks, so
So.
Well, you're an expert then.
I'm learning to be an expert, so.
Yeah, so Reed and I sat down with Amy, and Sammy will be up next as well, because again, he hasn't had to work through a budget yet either. With both of them, to work through this process. You're gonna see mostly consistent, changes across the board, from year over year. There isn't a lot of increases or decreases fluctuating. There's a few that we've adjusted specific due to, a software split between GIS and the assessment office. So Reed met with Sammy and Amy and were able to work through kind of which offices should be picking up what aspects or the amounts of the softwares that are shared between the two. So you might see some shift in that. Other than that, you're going to see some minimal adjustments to the salary lines due to the transitions and shifting that we've seen there.
Right. And that's what we see of the year over year changes there on the right-hand side.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
correct.
Gotcha.
There's a slight increase just to some board review costs. I mean, again, we're talking a couple $100. As I said, again, you're seeing an increase to that software and licensing because the assessment office previously, as the offices were merged, we kind of shared funds between the two, but since we split them out, that's when we had to sit down and make sure that each office is taking on their share of the software costs.
Amy, do we see any multi township assessment districts? Because we're down to what do we got in the county? We got 9? Is it 9?
I don't
Something
remember
right,
offhand
something
how
like
many we
that.
have.
But do we have any indicators from anybody who said that, hey, we're wanting the county to take over our role as far as?
We had, was it Brooklyn Township that wanted to just give us their whole, they wanted us to manage their township?
There was a
their budgets and
multi-township
everything?
district. There's a multi-township district that was interested in essentially dissolving, which can't happen.
We can't do.
And then having the county take over the entire operation. But we had that conversation early on, and that's nothing really even to discuss. But, we see some slight increases, and, again, there's a baked in 3% increase to the township contracts that we have for doing services. We are going to discuss that moving forward because as the county is taking on more costs to complete the services for township assessments, we're going to have those discussions with the townships on increases specific due to some of the software changes and the continued increase of those services internally.
Right. Well, that's basically, the purpose of my question. Are we recovering enough as the multi townships come back to us to, are we recovering our costs? Because they're doing, they're levying within, their budget.
Right.
And we need to be making sure that we, capture
And
as much of that as we can.
Previously, leadership in the assessment office over the last, handful of leadership roles, we're trying to capture that. But again, as we're seeing increased costs across the county, specifically to licensing and services and software, that's changing. So we're going to have to look at that. And we recognize that early on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So. Any questions for Amy? Nothing, Ally's not there?
Best of luck for your.
I
Thank you.
don't
You're
have
doing
any.
here.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Ally.
Okay.
All right, Amy.
All right.
Appreciate it.
You're-
See, I
I'll have
wasn't
more to
that
say next
painful.
year.
Now, you know, that I'm gone next year, so it might be a lot worse next year. So I just want to be prepared.
Watch out
You
for
know,
Reed.
I'm an easy touch, as you can tell. So,
Easy, so we'll see who follows suit.
yeah, that's right. Thank you. Thanks for coming in. Sammy, come on down. GIS. You know, just so you know how important that is, I was using the service the other day. It's, you know, it's something you don't even think about because every county has it and you think but how important that is and having that tool for everyday citizens to go in and look at property and understand what is going on and so appreciate all the work that you do. I've never had the opportunity to talk to you about that, but
Thank you.
but
Thank you so
appreciate your office and what you do.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm glad
So,
to hear that. Actually.
yeah.
Yeah, that our GIS services is accessible to everybody.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So any changes within your office that you want to talk about or what's going on in GIS world?
So far, I don't have any specific items to talk about, but maybe if you have anything to.
Yeah, again, and when you're looking at his budget, I mean, really, there's mostly been decreases year over year. I mean, as we're seeing heading into this fiscal, there's been adjustments to Sammy's office. We've been down as a staff member this, the majority of this year. We're in the process of hiring. So that's going to be a great addition for Sammy and to also offload some of the stress levels and workload that's been on his shoulders because again, GIS supports a lot. It touches a lot of offices, departments within not just within the county operation, but externally as well.
Right.
So he has a lot on his shoulders. And again, the other change that you're going to see is again, there's going to be a decrease in that software and licensing because of the shift of some of that, the burden of the expense onto the assessor's office. So we're trying to shift some of those things around. But what I would love, again, he's got a smaller budget compared to others. What I'd love Sammy to do is just explain a little bit about what his office is doing to you so you guys could understand the scope and the parameters of what he really does. Can you do that?
Yeah, sure.
Especially what's coming on the horizon with all of the upgrades and some of the transitions with the programs that you're going to have to work through.
Yeah, of course. First of all, the GIS department, at the GIS department way, we maintain and provide at the same time the location-based information system and service for the entire county and county departments, as well as our residents. And we share all this information centrally here at our department, so we share it securely. And at the same time, one of the biggest projects, we are in the process of migrating and upgrading our system, our enterprise system, or I would say the online mapping system that you can see right now in the county website. So we are in the process of migrating to a newer system. At the same time, we're going to streamline our parcel data maintenance by deploying a new solution called Parcel Fabric. We have the same project with the 911 center. We are in the process of upgrading their system, their enterprise system, because also they are using our GIS maps and data heavily. And also we are in the process of upgrading to a newer software. So yeah, we have a lot.
Mm-hmm. That seems to be a common theme. Anybody that uses computers, it is constant battle of updating and staying current and those costs associated, and they just continue to rise.
Well,
So go
question
ahead,
though,
please.
in every department, we see where the licensing and software costs are going up and yours are going down. Oh, okay. All right.
Also, I would like to add one point here. We recently moved to something called RGS Enterprise License Agreement. And with this agreement, our license is shared with other departments, right? Like the 911 center, the city of Dixon. So yeah, I think it's one of the things that, right?
Yeah, so with that enterprise system, which we signed that agreement last year,
Yes.
we were able to share some of those costs between some of the other users a little bit more than we had in the past. So, and that also expands their access and their systems as well. So that was a multi kind of unit of government shared agreement.
So
Yes.
your office has, are you the sole employee?
I am sole employee right
Yeah.
now. Yes.
It has been an office of two. We lost, a great employee, Logan,
Yes.
earlier this year, and we're in the process of hiring his replacement.
Yes, we're in the process of hiring a new GS tech.
Very good.
Yes.
Ally, do you have any questions for Sammy?
I do not. Thank you, Sammy.
All right,
Thank you.
very good. Any other questions for Sammy before we let him go? All
you so
right.
much for
Well,
your
thanks
time.
for coming
Appreciate
in.
it.
Appreciate
Thank
you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right. Zoning. Building and zoning.
Morning.
Come on down. Good morning, Alice. Good morning, Joseph. So what is going on in the zoning world? Lots and lots.
Yes, I don't think we have too many changes though, to our budget. We did switch, we added a couple of new accounts to kind of group things in to better categories, I guess. So we did add a software line, a line for zoning hearing expenses, and a line for planning hearing expenses.
Okay. Let's see that.
The contractual is down 15,000.
Yes.
What's that based on?
So currently that is to cover Jared's expenses as our compliance officer.
And
So
I think, oh, sorry, Alice.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think part of it plays into those new accounts that we've added. We're splitting out some of those things that we historically captured in that contractual, but to make it a little more clear, right? We're gonna have, our zoning hearing officer, his expenses would have come out of that contractual line item. Now we're kind of segregating it off to go to zoning hearing expenses. We have other expenses that probably aren't necessarily contractual for zoning hearing expenses, but if we put it all in that account, we'll have a better understanding of, what does it specifically take to run that? Because that's kind of a new process that we shifted to over the recent years of using a zoning hearing officer.
Yeah,
Correct.
and that's something that I'd like to talk about is this is new. And I know we've had a few hiccups but overall, Alice, have you been happy with the way the hearing officer has progressed and where we're at right now? And do you anticipate
Yes.
any changes? And
No, I am
Yep.
very happy with how the process is going. I think since we've had Brian at the helm, we've been good. I don't anticipate losing him. We do still have several alternatives in the need, if we ever have that need, so.
Has there been any feedback? I know that I talked to, as we were going through that process, I talked to a couple of other counties in DeKalb specifically, and there was some feedback that wasn't all positive in how theirs progressed and that settled down. We gotten any feedback from our folks that like it, don't like it, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I have gotten a little bit of feedback. The negative seems to come from those whose hearings may not have gone the way they wanted
No
it.
big surprise there.
But overall, I think it's been positive. I think the hardest thing for the public and maybe even the petitioners is they don't get the decision that night. I think that's the biggest change in the process is The hearing officer hears all the evidence that evening, and then he takes it under advisement and issues his recommendation later.
Mhm.
So I think that's been the most difficult thing for people, is they just want to know how it's going to play out, so.
What's usually the time frame between a hearing and when Brian issues the hearing officer makes his decision?
About 10 days to 14 days.
Okay. Well, that's reasonable.
Sure seems like it's made it more efficient. This is just my view. It seems like it's more efficient, more black and white.
I agree. I really like it from an administrative perspective, so.
Very good. Anybody have any questions in regards to anything in the budget or general questions? Ally?
No, I do not.
Okay. Okay, and from the peanut gallery. Joe, do you want, on the building side? Yep, you gotta use your
Yeah,
mic.
the building side, the only thing really that applies in here is, our software costs are down from the initial startup for the iWork program. That's been playing out very well. The building permitting software, the zoning software, and the compliance software has been a big boon to us. So otherwise, our needs are few. We need fuel for the truck, and we need maintenance, oil changes on the truck, and our office supplies, nothing very very exciting or daunting for the building department anyway.
Right.
Other than our software, we need that.
Trends you're seeing as far as anticipating next year, what are we thinking about?
I would speculate, but I would probably have a 50% chance of being wrong.
All right, so you're like the weatherman.
Things are on a little bit of a lull right now, I think, due to the economy.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a little bit of everything from the small projects to large projects seem to be slower
Mhm.
right now. I anticipate that perhaps here in the next few weeks, I'm hoping to see an uptick, prior to the start of fall construction. I did reach out to one of our local union reps, and he had, basically paralleled what my thoughts were. Things were coming down a little bit. We expect hopefully a peak in the fall.
Okay. All right. Any questions?
Yeah, I was just
go
gonna
ahead.
ask you, how have you been received out in the country?
I can't say anything but well received. Even, the contractors, the local contractors seem to be the hardest ones to get on board because we've never done this before, kind of a mentality. But, our contractor registration is going well. Especially, and again, through our permitting portal, that's been very streamlined and easy to do as well. But I would tell you, we've been fairly well received.
Good. Nothing to do with your charming personality.
I would doubt that.
All right. Any other questions in regards to the zoning department budget? All right, guys, you making it simple and keeping us on schedule. So appreciate it. Thanks for coming in. Mr. Treasurer, we're 12 minutes early. That's unusual. It is. Come on down.
Who's this? I haven't seen him. Who's this?
He visits from time to time. So. How you doing, Paul?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised how fast you guys went through some of the earlier budgets reviews. So,
Well, it is just the efficiency of this committee, is all I can tell you.
or, I heard you were, an easy, I heard you say how easy you were.
Well, I was referring, that's me talking about me. So
Oh,
there,
okay.
There's a little
Okay.
bit of bias there.
All
So
right, all right.
I think there's others that would say Sheline is
Well, you don't want to know what they say, so.
Anyway, what is going on down at the treasurer's office? What do you got
Well,
for us?
Okay, so, I mean, we just talk about the budget, but we can talk about the treasurer's office as well.
Well, I think we need
We're
to do
in-
both.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
in the throes of, collecting the property tax, which will be about 98 million total this year. So, a lot of activity going on. We have gone through June, July, and now most of August. The final due date will be September 4th, so that's really only about 2.5 weeks away. And no issues in terms of reconciling any of that. And, we're getting good feedback from the banks, so I appreciate that.
Paul, what percentage of people pay their entire tax bill in the first installment?
I think maybe around 30, actually.
Really?
Because when you look at what we did receive through the end of June, which would have been our first, we had a little over 40% of our total 98 collected. We've distributed most of that already. So we start, statutorily, your distribution has to be at minimum 30 days after your first due date.
Oh,
Once you start, now you have to do it once every 30 days until you're done. Some counties actually do a distribution before their first due date. The problem with that is you haven't reconciled anything. So once you make a distribution, you can't pull that money back and you can't make sure there was not a mistake there. So that's why I do not do that, only in the sense of I want to make sure everything's reconciled.
So, and I've been meaning to ask you this forever, and then I always forget. For people who have mortgages, they pay that property tax is escrowed to the bank. So when does the bank, in taking the escrowed money, when do they give that to us?
Yeah, typically the banks will do that about a week to 10 days before the due date for each installment. If, from an escrow perspective, not everybody with a mortgage is escrowing, but.
Right.
But
But I would imagine the vast majority do.
Yeah, I don't know which properties are escrowed and which ones aren't. What we do is we send the banking institutions a full file of the 28,000 parcels. They have the algorithm software that's able to pull each one of their parcels and go, this one's mine, this one's mine, this one's mine. And then they design a file. That file comes back to us with all the information on it, like the index number, the name, the address, and the dollar amount. And then they typically add all of their parcels up and send us one large wire, or some of them actually send, and we just got this yesterday. I think there's close to 30 checks in it, but they sent a check for each parcel, which is not typical, but yeah. So we usually get it ACH'd or wired to us. And then that's one of those that we reconcile to say, hey, do we match what they match? Because what happens is there are a few people, every year this happens, they escrow, but we also send them for their information a tax bill. We're legally obligated to mail it out.
Oh, no double pay.
And they've paid.
Yeah.
So we actually had one where one person paid at the bank, one person paid at the office, and the bank then tried to pay it as well. So, that's a mess in and of itself. And who do you send the money back to?
Right.
So, because we actually do not take more than is owed,
Right.
we have no place to put it. So we send it back as much as we can. And the problem with paying it at the bank, you could pay it today at the bank, but I won't know that you've paid until those receipts are collected from the bank and then reconciled. And that's usually an end of month type of thing.
Sure.
So,
Jason,
so there's a lot there.
did you have? Oh, I thought you.
Yeah, there's a lot there. So that's what's going on. Obviously we have that and then all of the other, the state money that comes in on a monthly basis, and we give you guys a financial record of that each month. So So we're reconciling probably, this year, it'll probably be close to, I'm going to say close to $140 million. Now, everybody's going, wow, that's a lot of money for that. But you got to remember, of the 98 million in property taxes, only 9 million of that, or 10%, stays in the county. The rest goes to the 135 other governing bodies that make up Lee County. So there's 135
Taxing district.
taxing districts or taxing bodies. When you think about it, the schools, I think we have 12 or 13 of those, maybe even 15 different schools, because you have, not only do you have like the grade schools, the high schools, you also have like, if somebody say, oh, but you only have one college, Sauk Valley. Well, no, not really. You also have people who live on the east side of the county that go to Kishwaukee, and Kishwaukee's there. Down by the southeast, where you're close to LaSalle County, you have IVC, Illinois Valley. So, there are so many overlapping, they're called overlapping districts. And we have to reconcile that and make sure they get their levies too. So.
And then all the townships and all the
Oh, yeah.
cemeteries and
Fire
libraries.
districts.
Illinois loves our layers of government.
Yeah, there's the drainage districts,
Yep.
just all of it.
Reed, you have a question?
I was just getting into the items a little bit. I was just curious why the miscellaneous expense is budgeted so large, but then typically it has, a small. expense there.
I got to read. Are you talking about in the indemnity fund,
Yes.
that 320?
Yep.
So that is restricted funds. That's the indemnity fund that the treasurer controls. That basically is for property taxes that have been sold or are being litigated. And those fees come in through the tax sale. They go out if there's a judgment against us. What I'm doing is I'm forecasting that those will be used, but typically it doesn't, there's no judgments. It's there more as a placeholder. Because if I did not forecast anything and then a big payment came up, technically we'd be paying for something that we didn't budget for. So what you'll see in like the indemnity fund and that collector automation this year is I said, hey, whatever that fund balance is, near or dear to it, I will probably have to spend it. But it doesn't mean I'm going to spend it. It's just there as a placeholder. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Do you want to?
Go ahead.
I mean, part of it just because of the changes within the state in terms of their property tax sale procedures, right?
Yeah,
That's
I
a big
mean-
reason why it's changed this year versus.
Yeah, but even then, I had this in before that, but there is a new law where we may need to do a transfer of funds from one restricted fund to the other to spend it. So it's there as a placeholder. Yeah. Do kind of like you'd basically, you're loaning from one fund to the other.
Right. And you're always hoping that those expenditures never happen.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. In the 8-9 years I've been in the treasurer's office, I think there's one judgment that was used in the indemnity fund. But typically that fund is funded through the tax sale, but at $10 a parcel. So what that means is for every parcel you sell in the tax sale, there's a $10 fee that goes to fund that. So you're not building that fund up in any fashionable, fast way. But we also don't have any large judgments against us because we do follow the rules, and typically we don't have to have a judgment against us. So
It is
And even-
good business to have it there.
it is. Each county has that fund and has that sitting there. So I said it is a restricted fund. It's held by the treasurer, and the treasurer pays or uses it and has the authority to spend it. It's the board's responsibility to say, here's how much I want in that fund. And I think if we look at our resolutions, I think we have somewhere around a $400,000 to $500,000 limit or value that we would like to see that built up to. Well, that'll take more than my lifetime to ever get there at $10 a clip. So it'll be there for a while.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. But then, you know, as we look at the budget, right? So in the county general, probably our biggest change, and you guys haven't or have noticed this in probably most, is really in the healthcare line. The payroll line changes are, my office is considered a union office. So those are the union values that'll come in against the employees there.
Right.
And then the other, you know, these are the small changes stuff I look at, but postage is one I wanted to point out to you. Typically I've been, you know, our postage for just tax bills is around 20,000. Some of that is shared though in the 915 fund, which is the actual property tax fund. Some of that postage is what I'm doing is I'm spreading that out against all of the different taxing bodies as much as I can, by statute as much as I can. But postage seems to be just going up, up, and up. So there's a big increase there. And then the software is, as we continue to increase our load with Cassell, which by the way, I would not move off of Cassell if any, I mean, there's nobody that can touch it. I know the Taylor Tech, or is it Tyler? Thank you. I was thinking Taylor. The Tyler Technologies came in one time and gave us a quote or an estimate of what they could do, because, you know, they do financials as well as across the street.
Mm-hmm.
And it was close to $500,000. And we bought this off, we bought the license for it for 40. And it's
Right.
doing all this, you know, it's doing the MyPay, it's doing the MyViewpoint, it's doing our GL, it's doing our payroll. And, you know, we've done very well with it. I think it's for what it does and what its value is, it's the right software to have. So.
Well, I know the reports that you know, from a county board member perspective, being before we got Cavell, big difference.
Yeah.
Big difference
Well,
in the reports that you guys provide to us now, and the transparency
Yeah.
of the financials is so much better.
And I'll even take that back to the previous treasurer, and Paula was able to, you know, design a lot of that reporting that was more professional, if you will, and more in line with what a financial report should look like.
Sure.
So, you know, that comes from Cassell.
Right.
And she was instrumental in bringing it on, so.
Just one more question on.
Yeah, no
How
problem.
comes there's two lines for health insurance? There's one up above in the county general about, a third of the way down, and then there's another one just almost at the bottom, about 6 lines up. So,
Health insurance?
yeah.
Yeah.
See, health insurance is right there. So I'm not reading it right. And then there's it down here again. Oops, shit.
You looking at the budget?
Oh.
No, it just under county general. So I don't know. It just
Okay,
says,
go across here. Let's go backwards, sorry.
okay.
Let's go. Oh.
there's
Yeah,
one there, and
yeah,
then
you
there's-
know what? It's all, if, as you look at Reed's screen, it's admin and, yeah, you're seeing a large combined
here.
county general. But this is sorted by just, so
Oh,
001 is county general, that's the fund number. And then 003, which you don't see, would be the treasurer's department number. But what you're seeing in yours has 001 as the county general fund, but then it has a couple of different department numbers in it as well. So yes, yeah, there is some of that in there that this might be better for you to look at. This is more my view.
You were on the admin budget.
There you go. That's
Oh,
the
okay,
treasurer's budget.
all right. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Yeah, as,
No.
I'd actually rather you guys ask me questions than, not, because, that's what I'm here for, is really try to explain some of these financials, make sure they make sense. What's the best way that the county can provide for in terms of what we do, right?
Mhm.
So.
Ally, do you have any questions for Paul?
I do not. Thank you.
All right, you bet. So, any other questions for Paul? No? All right,
Okay.
well, appreciate it, and thanks for coming in and giving us the update.
Thanks.
Jeremy, we are smoking.
Yeah, we are doing
I
great.
thought we'd have to take a break, but I
I don't
think we're
think
gonna
so.
be able to blow through this and
That's right.
and get things done and
This
be
is-
on our way,
I
so.
agree. And this is going to be a little bit of a split between Reed and I. The
Sure.
way that the admin budgets, admin county board budgets been merged and kind of changed a little bit over time here. So there's going to be some things in this that Reed's going to have been doing most of the inputs on, and I'm going to have him explain that.
Okay.
But from my standpoint, from the, just our admin operation, there isn't a lot of significant changes outside of, again, the, benefit costs. You're going to see an increase in insurance there. That's also due to some staff previously not taking county insurance to now taking county insurance, as well as some of those, again, we know that there's those significant increases in those costs. There's a small bump in our dues and subscriptions. That's just to the additions of some additional subscriptions, such as like our admin fax and some of those other things that we use in-house for our internal operation. Other than that, operationally, there isn't a lot of adjustments. You're going to see, again, those two health insurance lines. One is our general operating health insurance for the staff. The other piece of it is those county-wide extra expenses that come into health insurance that aren't, typically accounted for in our, just like our staffing payroll levels.
Yeah, so like in the individual departments, right, that you would have seen in everyone's budget, that's basically premiums, the employer side of premiums for the employee's health insurance. The health insurance that you're then going to also see under the county-wide side and the county board side are costs that aren't necessarily attributable to individuals, right? We have our, we have a high deductible plan, but we also then pay the gap between our out-of-pocket expenses. And so like those can fluctuate every year just depending on claims and whatnot. So that's why there are two. Not that we just want to keep them separate for, hey, these are the employee premiums, and then here's the additional health insurance related costs.
Do we share the deductible costs then a little bit with the employees then, or how, I mean, do you
So-
reimburse for some of the deductible costs to a percentage or not at all?
Susan might be the best one
I
to
mean, you're
explain
saying
it, but-
outside of what we typically do. I mean, we have our HSA that we have set up with Envision. So, when an employee comes in, they might see what looks like a really high deductible. But due to our partnership with Envision, what the employee takes on, or the employer takes on as costs, we do split that with the employee. Depending upon what plan they are in, it's, I think, 1,600 or 2,400. Is that right, Paul?
Yeah, actually, so each employee, so we have, I'm just going to use numbers, but we have a $6,000 deductible,
Right.
high definition. Well, the employee pays the first 500 out of pocket,
Right.
but that goes against a total out of pocket of 1,400. So you go, well, wait a minute, that doesn't equal 6,000. The difference between that 1,400 and the 6,000 is the Envision that the county picks up as part of a cost to keep the total cost down. So what you're seeing there in that fluctuation outside of a department is if you have a lot of claims as Bree picked up, you're going to see a lot of that difference or that $4,600. That's basically $4,600 potential for every covered person.
And not all,
employee.
and not everybody meets that deductible.
Yeah.
But,
So
but
that's why
that-
there's fluctuation.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's a very good, benefit. for
It's
the-
great.
The employees.
It's
That's
it's
huge.
a very nice benefit, unless you didn't, as an employee, unless you didn't have to pay anything at all, right? But it is a nice feature of our health
Yeah.
insurance.
I mean, you look through, that list at the end of the year and you, again, might see, as Paul said, some maxed out. And then you might see some barely used. And it varies year to year.
Yeah,
Jeremy.
so, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Jeremy, under the line item of economic development, I see we reduced that investment by $10,000. What falls under that economic development?
Those are essentially our partnership agreements with like LCIDA, Blackhawk Hills Regional Council, and the SBDC. Those are payments to them with our relationships and
So
agreements.
how's it gone down 10,000?
I didn't put that 80 in, I left it at 90, so that might have been a read adjustment.
We can change it.
The LCIDA, what do we contribute to LCIDA?
It's 50,000 a year.
50,000 a year.
Yeah.
And then the additional 40,000 is?
So that's a split between SBDC, Blackhawk Hills Regional Council, and then we leave a little bit extra in there in case there is an initiative that we need to put some monies in.
Blackhawks Regional Council being the enterprise zone?
Yes, Enterprise Zone falls under them. Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Just as a point, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I think investment in economic development is really important to build the tax base. And $50,000, maybe LCIDA is really not asking, but I think there should be some assessment as to really what our investment should be, because really, honestly, that's a very small investment.
I don't disagree. I mean, we previously only gave $15,000. We bumped it to $50,000 maybe 3 years ago,
About
3 or 4 years ago.
About 3 or 4.
Yep. And because we knew there needed to be a significant change there. The city of Dixon did as well, changed their investment. And obviously now LCIDA has a relationship and partnership with the city
Well,
of Rochelle.
Rochelle has too.
Right.
I mean, Rochelle's put 100,000.
That's correct. That's correct.
So,
Yeah.
and then there's some question, I think, and this is a conversation we probably ought to have with the LCID board, but whether or not this is really working with Tom covering, with one director covering Rochelle as well as Lee County. I don't know if everybody's happy about that, or if that's, I think from just where I stand is that Tom could be stretched a little thin.
Mhm.
And whether or not there shouldn't be at least one more person between Rochelle, Dixon, the county, to support the economic development office.
Well, I could see him needing staff, a support staff for sure.
I'm sorry?
I could see him needing a support staff
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has
It's
Tom
been a-
made any indication that he's looking for
No.
any changes this next year?
No, but I mean, that was a conversation, I mean, again, we're getting a little bit off track, but that was a conversation we had as a board about a year ago. About, as the footprint expands of LCIDA, what's the need internally within the office to make sure we're supporting the operation the best we can?
Mhm.
There hasn't been any significant conversation since, but I'm sure it's forthcoming.
Well, I think there's a conversation. I know the city of Rochelle has a new city manager, but there should be a conversation. And this was always the concept that I had before I left, is that there ought to be at least a part-time person in Rochelle. So that Tom could hand things off to what's going on in Rochelle. But I think Zeke needs to get his feet on the ground, and I think there should probably be a conversation about that going forward. But again, Rochelle's already put 100,000 in. I don't know if that's putting another part-time person or a full-time person that might be needed to really cover that, their bases. A conversation to have with Rochelle.
Reed, did you want to talk about any of the other line items in this budget that you've put in?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is still just kind of related to changes in health insurance. I I think the second line item that you pointed out, Reed, that one's a little hard to pinpoint every year because everyone, the claims change. Historically, in our conversations with IPBC, we were kind of maybe on the lower end of claims, and over the last few years, we've kind of ticked up a little bit, which is obviously the reason for some of those increases in our premiums. You know, a bit of a guessing game on where those will lie. I guess the one thing that is in here that we will likely need to add in as the weeks keep moving by, when we have a better understanding of where some of those union negotiations are coming in, right? Historically, we've budgeted a little bit for that. We've kind of put it in a contingency until we know exactly where those are going to land, and so we'll need to add that in. I guess if there are any questions on what is in there, I'm more than happy to answer anything.
So one question that popped out to me, Reed, was in regards to, we reduced where did I had it and then I lost it. Legal services. Legal services, we had budgeted last year, $45,000. It looks like that was simply that, we had that in there for a number of years and it never came close to that expenditure, so.
No, we're gonna
so it
have
looks
to-
like you kicked that back, pulled that 30,000 out of there.
We'll probably have to increase that before this is done, depending upon where things land. So I'm assuming, I mean, we have 45 in there right now. That's gonna probably take on most of the legal fees, and this is probably part of the conversation for FOP or their union negotiations this year. If anything stretches into next fiscal, that's probably why we made that adjustment with the decrease, because we knew we were going to be.
Well,
dealing
that's why I
with
kind of
two.
wondered, because we're gonna have those.
But that's gonna be mostly, hopefully, that most of those costs will be in this fiscal, but
Yeah.
it might roll into next year.
Okay. All right. Questions? Ally, got anything?
I do not. Thank you.
Okay. And just as a point of reference, Jeremy, your contract runs out
In November,
in November.
I heard I'm not getting renewed, so good luck.
My understanding.
We'll have to look at it.
That was a joke.
Some free agents out.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody watch Moneyball. I think there was a Jeremy in that. That was Jambi. Jeremy, we just traded you to the Phillies.
We're gonna have to see how we can use AI better. That might be a piece.
All right. Well, at this time, I don't have any further questions. Does the committee have any further questions?
Here.
None there. Okay. All right. Well, that wraps up the third day. We've got, let's see, Becky, where's my? Okay, so next week from today, we have our finance budget wrap-up meeting, so will everybody be prepared to go through everything, basically have a preliminary look
Yeah, so
at what we're gonna present in
I would-
September?
I would say we're gonna look at, first thing will probably be capital requests and go over that so that we can look at that as a whole picture of all departments' capital requests, right? And see their effects on where we're at and there may be some tough decisions that we have to make within there, just because capital is our main safety net for our 60-day policy of cash balance for our expenses. And that way we can kind of look at them all together. Then historically, what we've talked about is, now that we've had everyone's presentations, what they're requesting, what our gap is between what we've projected from a revenue standpoint and what department heads' requests are. And then we will kind of talk about what that is, maybe get some feedback from you guys about areas we should look into in terms of cost savings. And then that will be when Jeremy and myself will get to work and start working with department heads of what we can do to lessen that gap to zero. And so then.
Which, unlike other units of government, we have to, by statute, we have to present a balanced budget. That has to be 0 + 1.
Yep. So we will do that fun work. And so then at essentially the September Finance Committee meeting, we will talk about how much closer we are to that 0 number. Ideally, it would be 0 then, and we could just move it on and things would be easy. But, there's a lot of GL accounts that I get to go through and make sure that they're where they need to be. But so September, we will either probably be very close to 0, or we may need to ask for guidance on if we're still far off, what should we go look at? So that for the October meeting, we can present a preliminary budget that will then get approved to executive to full board to be held over for the month between October's meeting and November's meeting to be passed in November, right? So, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and with all of those, I know we just said budget, but obviously levy will be, essentially attached to those things as well. So.
All righty. Any other questions or comments or for the good of the cause? I hear none from Ally. All right. Well, we'll see you next week and Thursday night, actually, for the county board meeting. So I'll entertain motion to adjourn, moved by Acree, seconded by Book. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, motion carried. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you Thursday.